Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. I move that the Senate take note of the answer given by Senator Conroy, representing the Minister for the Environment, in response to Senator Milne's question on coal seam gas and environmental protection. Now, clearly there's something rotten in the state of New South Wales when it comes to mining regulation, whether that be Eddie Obeid's empire or whether that be their failure to properly regulate coal seam gas. Now, we've seen this week revelations that New South Wales is late on agreeing to consider the advice of the Coal Seam Gas Agency that the Commonwealth set up under pressure from the independents. Now, that couldn't be a clearer statement of the New South Wales government's lack of desire to actually listen to the science when it comes to coal seam gas. They haven't signed up to listen to the advice from this committee, and nor will they properly deal with coal seam gas. Now, my concern is the federal government is, of course, trying to distract attention from the fact that it too doesn't want to deal with coal seam gas either. It's trying to say that the New South Wales government is hopeless. It is on this issue, but to distract from the fact that the federal government refuses to seriously tackle the concerns of regional communities, concerns about groundwater, concerns about the climate. We've seen this week Minister Tony Burke dragged to the table, and suddenly overnight he's really concerned about coal seam gas because, of course, it's going into Western Sydney now. Minister Burke didn't seem to care so much about the Queensland residents or the other regional New South Welsh folk until it's on his own doorstep. Now, this is faux concern, Deputy President, because this is the same minister that approved 3 massive coal seam gas minefields and the associated port facilities within 6 weeks of becoming Environment Minister. I correct myself, the first 2 within 6 weeks and the third one within about 5 months. So all of a sudden he's concerned about coal seam gas. Well, I'm afraid the public won't buy it. This brings me to the point, though, that New South Wales failing to sign up to pitifully weak advice from a committee is yet more evidence that the states simply can't be trusted to live up to their environmental responsibilities. And this is the same government criticising the New South Wales government, while a few months ago they wanted to give them even more environmental responsibility. I'm afraid it's absolutely hypocritical. It simply doesn't add up. Minister Burke can't grandstand and say how awful New South Wales is on coal seam gas when he's the very guy who wanted to get rid of all of his powers and have the states do his job. Don't quite know what he thought he'd be doing around here without the responsibility to approve major projects that would significantly impact matters of national environmental significance, which by their very title demonstrate that they are of national significance and should be kept within the realm of the national government. Now, I've got a bill to address this issue. The government, of course, have prevaricated, and it was clearly put to Senator Conroy, is this on the table or off the table? What are you doing with your environment powers? Do you still want to give them away to retrograde governments like New South Wales and, of course, Queensland, where Premier Newman is repealing most of our environmental laws as quickly as he can and turning us simply into one big coal mine? Minister Conroy couldn't answer that. Thankfully, someone thrust a piece of paper at him halfway through Senator Milne's questioning, but I'm afraid he still was not able to clarify what the government's position is. Tomorrow is their chance to make it clear to the Australian people. Do they actually want to protect the environment, or do they simply want to give all of their powers away to the states? The hearing on my bill to force them to do their job will be tomorrow, and we'll hear from all sorts of experts who will talk about the terrible history of the states in protecting the environment. States who have been willing to put oil rigs in the Great Barrier Reef, to dam the Mary River where the endangered lungfish lives, to put cows in national parks. We'll hear tomorrow from folk who are saying clearly the states are not up to the job of looking after the federally significant parts of our environment. So, look, the government has the chance, and they should take this opportunity to clarify with the Australian people what on earth is their stance. There's been a whole lot of confusion since COAG. The Prime Minister has rightly said there's some significant challenges in palming off their powers to the states. Well, she should accept that those challenges are insurmountable, that the states cannot be trusted to do the job, and that instead of weakening our federal environmental laws by simply giving them over to state governments, that the federal government should instead actually strengthen those laws, actually stand up for our environment, which supports this economy that we hope to still have, and supports all of these beautiful places that are internationally significant and bring tourists to our door time and time again. This is the government's chance, but I'm afraid that we will see that only the Greens are committed to stand up for regional communities and our environment.
Thank you, Senator.